Well, hello and welcome to Soap Secrets for the 6th to the 12th of November. Hannah Fernanda is away on holiday this week, and I'm Claire Ruck and I will be standing in for her. So we're going to start off with Holby, and I welcome Victoria Wilson. Hello, Victoria.
Hi, Claire.
So, Ollie has a shocking encounter with a face from the past this week. Can you tell me more?
Yes. Well, it seems this week is a week of sort of shock revelations, if you like, at Holby. And as you rightly suggest, let's start with Oliver. So we're obviously delighted when Oliver sort of returned to grace the wards of Holby a few weeks back, but it became quite clear quite quickly that he's like a shadow of his former self after obviously he's suffering his brain injury from being shot in the head all those years ago. And then last week it emerged that Ollie and Hanson's mate Russ were hiding something. So this week Ollie gets something of a blast from the past, shall we say, in the shape of hotshot new locum Maisie. People, obviously, viewers will think nothing of it at first, but it soon becomes clear that there's definitely bad blood between the pair. Oliver's shocked to see Maisie, and Maisie's not exactly pleased to see him. It seems that wherever their history, it's kind of bad enough for Maisie to call the police on Oliver. So lots of conversation goes back and forth between the pair with lots of home truths revealed. We won't give away too much, but just to say that it seems that with his head injury sort of causing blackouts, there's a question mark over whether the sort of otherwise affable Ollie that we've sort of come to know and love is now a danger to himself and others.
So I have to say, did you just say blackouts?
Yeah.
The practicing doctor, should he be having blackouts?
Yeah, no. We saw him in surgery, obviously in the last episode. He couldn't cope, had to flee, and as I mentioned, then it transpired that they were hiding something. Now this bringing Maisie in, we're sort of discovering what's been happening in his personal life, perhaps, and maybe when he has those blackouts, he's perhaps doing things that he is not remembering. So yeah, there's quite a lot going on there. Seems like there's and right at the end of this episode, again, not to give too much away, but we see Oliver in a panic. So you're sort of wondering, oh, okay, what has he done? But you know, as I said, we are sort of starting to piece together sort of what Ollie's been doing while he's been away, and I suppose while it's obvious that there are major changes to his character, we kind of really hope that he hasn't changed too much. You know, we do really love him the way he is, but I suppose, as is always the case with Holby, we're certain that there is more to be revealed.
Yeah, and moving on to Eli, he's a bit of an enigma, isn't he? We see more of his personal life this week when his wife Amelia turns up.
Yeah, absolutely. He is an enigma, you're right. And just like Oliver, it seems that there's definitely a few shocks in store for him this week as well. So as you rightly say, Amelia turns up. Eli is very surprised when she turns up at the hospital unannounced. He thinks she's there for her charity work. She sort of provides support for cancer patients, like the young climate campaign of Sammy from last week. So he's in this episode still, and it's like a sort of Make-A-Wish Foundation type thing that she does work for. Anyway, we see her come in, and then we see her having a really intense conversation with Jack Naylor, and we find out that, like Jack, Amelia once had a brain tumour, and Amelia confides in Jack that she thinks the tumour is back.
That's really shocking, isn't it? Because at the moment, Eli and Amelia are going through IVF.
Yeah, absolutely. It's big news for Amelia and Eli, of course. As we know, they're currently sort of all the sort of they're enduring all the sort of pain and uncertainty that comes with IVF anyway. Added to that, Eli is this particular day he's due to perform life-extending surgery on Sammy, who I just mentioned. So she thinks, oh, okay, I'll sort of keep the news from him for now. Of course, this is Holby, so knowing she sort of knows she can't hide the truth forever, and sort of Amelia then eventually says to Eli, oh, we need to talk. And later she goes to see him with her brain scans. She's sort of got her brain scans in an envelope, sort of throws them on the seat. But as soon as Eli sort of rocks up, spots the envelope, he assumes it contains the results of their latest round of IVF. And he sort of enthusiastically rips open the envelope. Ouch.
Oh, no.
Yeah. In terms of where the story goes, again, we won't say too much, but it seems most evident that all of sort of Eli's and Amelia's troubles will collide, and they will be left with some tough choices to make.
That's going to run and run, isn't it? That storyline.
Yeah. I think we're sort of really getting the feel of why Eli has come to Holby now.
It's a shame, really, because like Holby's going to end in like February time, and there doesn't seem to be enough time for all these great storylines.
No, but you know that they'll work out something, and we have no doubt that Holby will end on a high. But it's still very much going. Don't wish it away. It's all good. We've got lots more drama to come before that.
And stressed out Josh forgets his paperwork this week.
He's basically so the F1s, so Josh, Jung, they're going for their F2, I think it's an exam. Josh, because of all that he's been doing, he hasn't sort of filed anything. He's got babies in special care. He's obviously just recently his battle with bulimia has been reignited. So he's really not, and he's just trying to do his job generally. So he's really not on his game right now. So yeah, he forgets to file his paperwork. There is a glimmer of hope, though, towards the end of the episode for Josh, in that maybe it's not the disaster it first appears. However, Jung has filed his paperwork. He's done all the relevant things, but he's not sort of jumping for joy, shall we say. Next week proves quite difficult for Jung, who's I suppose he's still trying to work out where he fits in. So he's been given the great news that he's become an F2 medic. So he should be in the mood to celebrate, and he kind of is, but he's missing his family back home and he doesn't really have anyone to party with. It seems everyone's too busy. He wants to go for a drink in Albies, but everyone's too busy.
Great. Thank you very much, Victoria. So it's another great week in Holby. And now over to Casualty, and we're going to be talking to Rachel Lucas. We've got a double episode this week, haven't we, Rachel? A couple of my favourite doctors in there. We've got Ethan and Stevie.
I know, exactly. So we're in for a treat this week. And in fact, both episodes, because we're doing a bit of a catch-up because we had to miss an episode the other week, but both episodes feature Stevie and Ethan in it. It's very dramatic this week.
It is. I thought that Stevie and Ethan didn't have a very good working relationship, or...
Well, no, I mean, obviously they don't, because Stevie still blames Ethan for leaving her sister Emma in a coma. So she's kind of been doing this revenge plan to try and get revenge on sort of like anybody who was involved in Emma being left in this state. I think it was about 5 years ago now. So she's so sure that Ethan's incompetent that she's actually watching him like a hawk, because she's going to jump on any mistake he makes and then report him. That's her way to try and get rid of him. But then things take a bit of a dark turn, though, because Stevie's so preoccupied with watching Ethan that she actually ends up making a really big mistake herself.
Yeah, I've seen. That's an amazing mistake she makes. She makes an assumption and doesn't go back and recheck, and it has catastrophic consequences, doesn't it?
Yes, it does. It has catastrophic consequences for the patient. And I think it really gives her an understanding of what it's like, you know, to go through something like that. That obviously, you know, as a doctor, you're not always going to get everything right all the time. And in fact, Ethan's really kind to her over it. And he just encourages her and he says, you know, sometimes you'll make mistakes, but you're also a good doctor. You know, that's what you've always got to remember. So it does leave her a little bit wrong-footed.
So at the end of that episode, does she have tragedy in her life?
Well, this is the thing. So I think she's warming towards Ethan. She thinks things, you know, we think maybe sort of like they'll put their relationship kind of on more of an even keel, but actually then something really tragic happens because she misses a message from her sister's care home saying that her sister Emma is in a really bad state and she's very near the end. And then by the time she gets there to see her, it's too late. And that's her sister's died.
We see this emotional side of Stevie. Normally we see a hard-nosed doctor, don't we? But here she's an emotional mess, isn't she?
Yeah, she really is. And I think also she holds a lot inside. She hasn't really told anybody about her sister. And, you know, obviously I think to have that in your life, you know, something which is so difficult and so heartbreaking, you know, you would want to share it with other people. But she very much holds it all in. And so, in fact, when we turn up for our second episode, then what's happened is she's internalised all her grief yet again in anger, which is what she's been doing before. And her revenge plan is back on because she also realises, this is the really tricky thing, that Ethan was at fault for not giving her the message from her sister's care home.
Yeah, and there's a big confrontation up on the roof.
So they end up on the roof of the hospital. There's this patient with paranoid delusions who goes missing. So they all end up on the roof of the hospital. I do feel that the staff of Holby City General end up on the roof quite a lot, which I'm not sure is a good thing generally, is it?
It's a flat roof. I'm not sure you meant to walk on flat roofs.
It's a flat roof, yeah. It's not going to be good going up there. I think they're trying to find the patient. But anyway, she's actually, at this point, Stevie then, she's there with Ethan on her own. She's contemplating finishing Ethan off. But then actually she chickens out and instead she just blurts out then and tells him exactly why she hates him and what he's done, you know, and how he's ruined her life. So Ethan's a bit stunned, but he obviously tries to calm her down a little bit, and then he actually, because he admits to her about his Huntington's because she's seen him whispering with Dylan, so she thinks they're just trying to sort of cover each other's backs, but of course this is because Dylan knows about his Huntington's and is trying to support him.
And then something shocking happens.
Well, oh yeah, well, of course, because we're on the roof of the hospital, so we know this is going to happen. So, of course, this patient with the paranoid delusions ends up turning up, and then he lunges at Ethan with a sharp object. Yeah, it's really shocking, and poor Ethan's life is actually left in the balance.
We just leave him there, and we're unsure. We have to wait till next week to find out whether they can save him.
Exactly, and also I suppose we've still got that little doubt whether Stevie is actually going to let him die after all. So is she going to save him? Is she going to help him? So yeah, well, I hope they save Ethan because everybody loves Ethan, don't they?
Well, I mean, the thing is, Casualty aren't shy about killing off big characters. They killed off Lev and Phoenicia, so it could look bad for Ethan, couldn't it?
Yeah, that's true. Oh, well, I hope not. I'm going to keep my fingers crossed.
What's going on with Rash? He's got himself into such a tiz and so messed up with Hafsa's drug gang.
Oh, I know. Well, it's just because he's just trying to be kind and help people out. But I really don't think he should have got mixed up in treating stabbed gang members from his own house, which is what he's been doing, hasn't he? And of course, he was kind of conned into it because Hafsa at first she's the sister of his, an old friend of his. So she's kind of groomed him a bit, hasn't she, to help her and the gang out.
Yeah, I know. And this week they're trying to blackmail him into stealing prescription drugs.
Well, they do, because he's got himself in a stupid situation by treating kids that have been stabbed, guys that have been stabbed sort of when he shouldn't have done, and not told anybody, not told the police. So, of course, now they've got something on him. So, and they're moving on to the next stage because they really want him completely in their pocket. So they say, they say to him, right, unless you start stealing prescription drugs for us, then sort of like basically your career is going to be over.
An amazing couple of episodes, isn't it, Rachel? So it's just another great week in Casualty. Thank you very much. So do join us next week for more gossip on Holby and Casualty. Don't forget you can download us at iTunes, Spotify and Acast.